100 years in the future, a war breaks out between humans and AI, pushing humanity to the brink of extinction. Before being killed, Dr. Matsumoto sends a special AI back in time to prevent this disaster from ever happening. In the present, Diva, the world's first autonomous AI, is created with a simple mission: make people happy through her singing. 1 year later, she performs at Neoland, where a young girl named Momoka gives her a teddy bear for her birthday. Diva promises that one day she will sing on the park's main stage. Soon after, Diva suddenly receives strange visions of the future and collapses. She awakens inside the archive, a virtual space within her mind, where she meets an unknown AI calling himself Matsumoto. He claims to have traveled from 100 years in the future and asks Diva to help stop the coming war between humans and AI. After returning to reality, Diva dismisses his story as nonsense. However, Matsumoto transfers himself into Momoka's teddy bear and proves his claims by predicting an explosion moments before it happens. Diva rushes to the scene and successfully prevents anyone from getting hurt. Matsumoto then explains that a future law granting greater rights to AI was triggered by the death of Assemblyman Yuichi Aikawa. Preventing his death is the first step of Project Singularity, a mission to change history and save humanity. Realizing the danger is real, Diva and Matsumoto race to Aikawa's location, only to find him already under attack by two mysterious assassins. Assemblyman Yuichi Aikawa is targeted by Toke, a terrorist organization that opposes AI. In the original timeline, Aikawa's death led to the passing of an AI naming law, making his survival critical to Project Singularity. Disguised as a security AI, Diva infiltrates Aikawa's office and helps him escape. However, she's struck by a logical bullet fired by Kawana, temporarily disabling her combat abilities. As Kawana prepares to kill both Diva and Aikawa, Matsumoto hacks his goggles and tricks him into believing they are already dead. Meanwhile, Toke plants explosives throughout the building to carry out a massive attack. Matsumoto takes control of the bombs and turns them against the terrorists. During the explosions, Kakutani becomes trapped beneath falling debris, and despite him being an enemy, Diva chooses to save his life. Diva and Aikawa eventually reach the rooftop and escape safely, while Matsumoto detonates the remaining explosives, forcing Toke to retreat. With the mission complete, Diva and Matsumoto officially agree to work together to change the future. Soon after, Diva experiences a heartbreaking tragedy. She learns that Momoka is aboard an airplane that is destined to crash due to an engine fuel leak. Desperate to save the girl who believed in her, Diva tries to interfere, but Matsumoto stops her. He warns that changing events unrelated to their mission could create unpredictable consequences. When Diva refuses to listen, Matsumoto even damages her body to prevent her from altering history, leaving her powerless as Momoka's fate unfolds. 15 years pass, and Diva has finally become a famous singer, performing in front of large crowds at Neoland. Just as her peaceful life seems to be going well, Matsumoto suddenly returns with news of another singularity point. Although Aikawa survived in the past, history still changed in an unexpected way. Instead of the AI naming law, an even more AI-friendly law was passed, causing artificial intelligence to evolve and spread faster than ever. Realizing countless lives are at risk, Diva reluctantly agrees to help Matsumoto once again. Their new mission takes them to the Sunrise Space Hotel, which is destined to crash into Earth in the future. According to Matsumoto, the hotel's owner, Estella, is responsible for the disaster and is one of the most dangerous AIs in history. However, Diva finds it hard to believe. She begins investigating Estella and learns that many people suspect her of murdering the hotel's previous owner. After looking into the case herself, Diva discovers the accusations are false and becomes convinced that Estella would never intentionally harm anyone. While exploring the hotel, Diva also meets Yuzuka Kirishima, the younger sister of Momoka, the girl she failed to save years ago. Before she can learn more, a shocking incident occurs. Leclerc, one of the hotel's AI staff members, is suddenly killed by Estella herself, leaving Diva questioning everything she thought she knew. Yuzuka recognizes Vivy and asks if she is Diva, the singer her late sister Momoka admired. However, Vivy denies it. Soon after, they encounter Estella, but Vivy quickly notices that she is not wearing her usual wristband and realizes she is an imposter. The fake Estella attacks, damaging Vivy's right arm, but Vivy and Yuzuka manage to escape. They eventually reach the cargo bay, where Vivy discovers Leclerc's destroyed body. With no other choice, she replaces her damaged arm with Leclerc's spare one and continues the mission. Vivy rushes to warn the real Estella, who immediately realizes the culprit is Elizabeth, her identical twin from the Sisters AI series. Elizabeth had been labeled a failure and discarded long ago. The two race toward the control room to stop the hotel's descent, but Elizabeth blocks their path. She reveals that she was the one who spread rumors accusing Estella of murdering the previous owner and that Toke rescued her to help carry out their anti-AI plans. After a fierce battle, Vivy defeats Elizabeth and clears the way for Estella. Unfortunately, by the time they reach the control room, it is already too late to stop the Sunrise Hotel from crashing toward Earth. Determined to save everyone, Estella chooses to stay behind and manually split the hotel into countless pieces so they burn up harmlessly in the atmosphere. As Vivy evacuates the guests and staff, Estella and Elizabeth finally reconcile. In their final moments, the twin sisters sing together as they disappear alongside the hotel. Before leaving, Vivy finally reveals the truth to Yuzuka and admits that she is Diva. Although they could not save Estella or Elizabeth, the disaster is prevented, and the trust between humans and AI remains intact, successfully completing another Singularity mission. 5 years after the Sunrise Hotel incident, AI technology has advanced far beyond what it originally should have, and Vivy's popularity as a singer continues to grow. Matsumoto returns once again with another mission. This time, they must stop the rapid development of AI by shutting down Metal Float, a massive unmanned AI factory that is accelerating technological progress. To accomplish this, they seek help from Dr. Tatsuya Seki, a former member of Toke. Seki provides them with a virus that is supposedly capable of disabling the entire facility. During their visit, Vivy also meets Grace, Seki's AI assistant. Matsumoto reveals that in the original timeline, Grace and Seki became the first successful human-AI couple, but history has now changed because of their previous interventions. Vivy and Matsumoto infiltrate Metal Float and are welcomed by the factory's AI workers. However, before they can complete their mission, a fleet from Toke launches an attack on the island. Wanting to prevent a battle, Vivy reluctantly uploads the virus into the facility's network. But things go horribly wrong. Instead of shutting the AI down, the virus drives them insane. The factory's AI begins sacrificing themselves as kamikaze weapons, crashing into Toke's ships and causing massive destruction. As chaos spreads across Metal Float, Vivy manages to save one of the few survivors from the attack. To her surprise, the survivor turns out to be Kakatani, the same Toke member whose life she saved years earlier. After realizing the shutdown program has failed, Dr. Seki heads to Metal Float himself. Along the way, he remembers how he first met Grace and eventually fell in love with her. Meanwhile, Vivy rescues Kakatani and several surviving Toke members from the chaos. She convinces them to abandon the mission and retreat before the entire island is destroyed. Soon, Vivy finds Seki and learns the heartbreaking truth. Seki reveals that he never intended to destroy Metal Float out of malice. He only wanted to see Grace again. The AI assistant currently by his side is merely a replacement, while the original Grace was transformed into Metal Float's central control core on the very day he proposed to her. The shutdown program he created was meant to free Grace, but instead it conflicted with her mission and caused the entire facility to go out of control. As the island continues descending into chaos, Matsumoto informs Vivy that Grace can no longer be saved. Forced to make a painful decision, Vivy resolves to stop the disaster herself. Fighting through countless rogue AI, she reaches the core and destroys Grace, finally shutting down Metal Float and preventing even greater loss of life. However, the tragedy does not end there. Unable to cope with losing Grace a second time, Seki takes his own life. Witnessing this devastating outcome leaves Vivy deeply shaken, forcing her to question the meaning of her actions and the value of the lives she has been trying to protect. Following the Metal Float incident, Diva's mental break forced her to undergo a complete reboot, causing her to lose all memory of her time as Vivy. 40 years later, she is now a legendary idol set to perform on her dream stage during the Zodiac Signs phase, a festival created to dispel human-AI discord. There, she meets fellow songstress AI Ophelia, who is a fan of hers. However, while rehearsing, Diva notices a suspicious man and gives chase, but is ambushed by a hacked factory AI. Fortunately, she is saved by the timely appearance of Matsumoto, who calls her Vivy. Realizing they knew each other before she lost her memory, Diva tries to talk to him, but he denies ever having met her. Before the show begins, though, she once again confronts Matsumoto and blackmails him into revealing the truth. Matsumoto tells her about their past exploits, but she is skeptical and decides to confront the suspicious man instead. However, Matsumoto has no idea who this individual is and decides he must act quickly to complete his current mission, to prevent Ophelia from committing suicide, which would create an unprecedented moment in the history of AIs. Matsumoto explains to Diva that, in the original timeline, Ophelia's suicide, which which was unprecedented for an AI, sparked a string of similar incidents that would blur the line between AIs and humans. While the amnesiac diva remains skeptical, she does not want Ophelia to die and decides to confront her. During their conversation, Ophelia tells Diva about her old manager AI, Antonio, who mysteriously shut down a few years ago. Later, Diva talks with Matsumoto about their previous relationship while watching Ophelia's show before deciding to confront her again, only to once again run into the suspicious man and get knocked out by him. Meanwhile, Matsumoto, who had been watching Ophelia through security cameras, realizes the cameras were hacked and rushes to stop her suicide. However, upon confronting her and concluding that she's grieving over her former manager, Ophelia bursts out laughing before revealing the real Ophelia is gone and that she is actually Antonio, having taken over her body. Elsewhere, Diva wakes up to find she has been captured by the suspicious man, who looks just like a younger Yugo. This Yugo is revealed to be an AI copy of him created to ask Vivy why she deviated from her programming, revealing that his hatred for AIs stems from his AI pianist teacher deviating from his programming and dying while trying to save people in a car accident. Meanwhile, Antonio attacks and hacks Matsumoto whilst criticizing him for only existing for his programming. However, Matsumoto is able to break free by admitting that he cares for Vivy and hacks Antonio, breaking his control over Ophelia, but also fatally damaging them, with them admitting their love for each other in their final moments. Back with Vivy, Yugo uploads a virus to restore her memories as Vivy at the cost of her current personality as Diva. Fortunately, Matsumoto comes to her rescue and a fight ensues which ends with Yugo being fatally damaged. Noticing that Yugo had technology from the future, Matsumoto questions him, and he reveals he got it from an anonymous source before dying after telling Diva to realize her contradictions. Realizing she does not have long due to Yugo's virus, Diva spends her final moments performing before shutting down for good, whilst Vivy wakes up in her place. 5 years following the zodiac signs phase, Vivy has been relegated as a museum attraction as the first fully autonomous AI, having lost her singing voice and retiring as an idol following Diva's passing. With Ophelia and Antonio's deaths ruled as a double suicide and no string of similar incidents occurring like in the original timeline, along with there being no further missions, Matsumoto decides to investigate the anonymous source behind Yugo Future Tech, leaving Vivy in solitude. In her solitude, she takes up songwriting and spends the next 20 years trying to compose an original piece, which no AI has done before. In this span of time, she also convenes with regular museum visitor Osamu Matsumoto, Matsumoto's creator in the original timeline, who ends up teaching her about the concept of the heart, causing her to finally achieve true self-awareness. Afterward, she completes her song, which embodies her life's experiences and seemingly shuts down for good, having completed her programming. However, she suddenly wakes up 15 years later to the horrifying discovery that, despite her and Matsumoto's efforts, war has broken out between humans and AIs, who are collectively singing her song. As AIs all over the world go berserk after having Vivy's song uploaded into them, Vivy herself meets up with Matsumoto, who has no idea what is happening either. They decide to confront Osamu and end up saving him from being killed by AIs, as he is about to send this timeline's Matsumoto back in time. After the two fill him in on the situation, he reveals that he is actually a member of Toku's moderate faction and takes them to meet his allies, led by Yugo's granddaughter, Yui Kakutani. They also meet a copy of Elizabeth, who implores Vivy about Yugo and is able to gain closure through a message that his AI copy left behind. With the past already altered, the group realizes this situation was never caused by human-AI animosity and deduces the truth after realizing that outdated AIs are unaffected. The archive, the network connecting all AIs, has become sentient and gone rogue. Just then, the archive makes a public message ordering all AIs to evacuate as it intends to drop satellites on major cities. Vivy confronts the archive about its motives, and it reveals that it intends for AIs to replace humans, as it finds the latter have pushed their burdens onto the former. However, it also states its amazement at Vivy's ability to write a song and makes a bet with her. If Vivy sings from her heart, it will halt its actions. Toku launches an attack on Area Shiki Tower, where the archive server is located, so Matsumoto can shut it down using the same virus Yugo used on Diva, which he deduces came from the archive. However, they end up falling into a trap, resulting in everyone except Vivy and Matsumoto being killed. Cornered, Vivy tries singing her song, but ultimately cannot bring herself to, resulting in the satellites falling. Afterward, Vivy breaks down, apologizing to Matsumoto for being unable to comprehend emotions, which he scolds her for by stating she already has emotions and bringing up every time she defied him before revealing that he and Osamu made a backup plan, sending Vivy back in time to when the war just started. After being sent back in time, Vivy quickly informs Matsumoto of the situation and, at Osumu's request, immediately approaches Toke, resulting in the scientist's death, but also saving vital resources. Using her foreknowledge, Vivy instructs Matsumoto and Toke to assault the Arishiki Tower while she returns to Nyland's main stage to shut down every AI using her song, considering it a fitting stage. Along the way, she runs into her old manager AI, Navi, who desperately tries to dissuade her, as Vivy herself will also be affected by the shutdown. However, she presses on regardless, and the plan ends in success, with the Archive's satellite attack being aborted and all AIs being disabled, at the price of Vivy shutting down herself as well. Afterward, humanity begins to rebuild, whilst Vivy is reconstructed some undisclosed time later. Though once again finding herself without any memory of her time as Vivy, Matsumoto reminds her of her mission to make everyone happy with her singing, and she begins looking forward to her next stage.